Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the guardian of the blue paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, the Flyers in a unique position are looking to the future. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink. Join Lance Green and SteelFlyers as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And as always, I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And Lance, my friend, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty darn well.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. So glad to hear that. Man, I tell you what, I'm doing pretty good myself, I got to tell you. Man, the ankle is healing up pretty good. Feeling good. Get to go to the doctor here on Tuesday, and hopefully I can step out of this lovely weight that's on the end of my foot. But anyway, that's enough of that fun. So, Lance, my friend, and all of you folks out there, thank you very much for tuning in to the Hockey Writers Ink, a hockey podcast about the Philadelphia Flyers. That's right, Lance and I talk about the great Philadelphia Flyers. We talk about the truth about the Philadelphia Flyers. We give you the facts, and we give you our honest, educated opinions. And so we have to tell you thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you very much for watching. We got a great article to talk about in this week's show, and we also got a bunch of other great things to talk about in this week's show, too. So, what do you say, Lance? We dive right in?
Sure.
All right. Sounds good. Here we go. Episode number 132. Episode number 132. The Flyers, in a unique position, are looking to the future. And I got to tell you something, man. I think there's some things that have been done. I think there's still a lot more things that need to happen. But, so, let's do one thing here real quick. Because before we even get into the goal and all the things that have happened since we were with you all last, let me just ask this one question of you, Lance. So, we've had the draft, right? We've had free agency, right?
Right.
We've had some moving and shaking. We've had some trades, some all kinds of other stuff has gone on. So what would your overall assessment be of how they always give the president the first 100 days, right?
Right.
And
right.
I think we're approaching that here with Danny Briere, I think. You know what I mean? So what would you give Danny Briere and the new era? What would you give their first, say, 100 days, quote unquote, or their first couple months on the job? What would you give them as a grade, or what do you think so far? What would your assessment be of the team so far?
It's hard to say because a lot goes off of how Michkov and is how quickly he can come over. We talked about that before. Looks great on paper. Probably the second best player out of this draft class. A lot of people passed on him for a lot of different reasons. We talked about that as well in past shows, but a lot has to do with that. But if you look at his body of work, I think that the Ivan Provorov trade was amazing. It got a guy out of town that kind of needed a fresh start. He wasn't a number one. We were able to get back, a goaltender in Cal Peterson who he might have, he might need a new start somewhere else too. And he has prospered before, but who knows? We got back a quality defenseman in Sean Walker, 22nd overall pick in the draft, which we used on Bonk to draft, who looked very good in camp this past couple of weeks there. Second round picks and Helgi Grans, which was pretty darn good in my mind. We saw him get rid of contracts as well, as looking at Kevin Hayes. That was a thing. I wish we got more out of it, but I don't think that
Yeah.
we probably could have. I think that was one of his only deals that he could make to get rid of that salary that much sooner
Yeah.
than
Yeah. Yeah.
expected. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
so the draft, we talked about that as well. Some guys that look good, and some big swings on a couple of guys that could prosper if they turn out to be what they think that the Flyers think they will be. It's going to be great. Some mistakes in my mind with some picks, but that's their vision, not mine. And we'll have to see here because you know they bought out DeAngelo recently, and I think we'll get in touch on that in a little bit. But that's hard to do. That was a contract that he felt needed to be moved, but we'll
well,
touch on that in a bit.
yeah.
But
But I mean, as far as
a
your
lot of
overall
moves.
grade, of what we've seen so far of this body of work with the draft, with free agency, with whatever moves that we've seen so far, what would be your grade? Let's say.
I would say right now, without knowing how long Mishkov's going to take to come over, I would say B minus. And that's being nice. It could be a lot better if Mishkov comes over next season and turns out to be the player that we all hope he will be. But I think what would have pushed that up more, and I don't know if I would have been able to pull the trigger on that as well, given the team, but um, the suspected non-trade of Scott Lawton. They had a good chunk of change out there for him, rumored. At least a first, if not a second, coming back for him as well. Um, Scott Lawton is a definitive player on this roster. He's a leader, but I mean, he's a hard
You
work
got to
guy.
listen.
But I mean, they did listen, but I don't know. I think I would have punched that ticket. I go back and forth on that one a lot. Whether I would have punched that ticket to get another first and second round pick, um, that would have been nice to the future.
I think I would have probably punched that ticket.
I think I would be, because at this point, if you're gonna suck, let's all the way
Suck.
suck. Yeah, let's all the way suck. Let's rebuild, tear it down while you can. Get as many first round picks and high level picks, second round picks that you can. Let's hope that we capitalize on at least one or two of them to be total stars and jumpstart this rebuild. I think I would have punched that ticket. And I think if he did that, you know, there's a lot of pieces that were moved. We signed some players to fill roster spots that are good
Yeah.
quality guys, but they're not anybody who's gonna, win now. Kind of. They're gonna make the team tougher, and some great leadership guys for the younger guys. But I don't know. I think I would have punched that ticket. That was my only thing. I think they waited a little too long, and then some other teams filled some holes with other players instead, and those, maybe that possibly that
That window went away.
trade scenario went away.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I would have done it. Given the team's going to be probably worse off than they were, even if Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson come back. I don't know. With losing JVR to free agency, it was needed. I think that was a good move not to sign him back, but he did put up some points. He was essentially a top six player on our team. I don't believe he would be anymore on a playoff team like Boston, where he is now. But
Well,
with
he
him,
basically, I think he's
Kevin
going to
Hayes,
basically, yeah, I think he's basically
you know,
going to replace the losses that they're going to be dealing with up there in Boston.
sure. And I
They
mean,
they
that's
traded Tyler Hall, in Boston, and they don't know if certain players are going to be back. So I mean, I think that was pretty good for him to go up there.
I can see
He'll
see
see
that for
third,
him. Yeah,
fourth
for
line.
sure. Yeah, and I can see that for him. It was a good move. But given that he's gone, that Kevin Hayes is now gone, that Provorov is now gone, it's going to be a rebuilding. It's, year. And if we're gonna suck, let's go all the way and suck. And I would hate to lose Lawton, but at the same time, I would like that chance
Yeah.
at taking another chance at another first round pick, or potentially a first and a second round pick, like that was rumored for
Well,
him. So
all right. So you gave him a B minus.
yeah,
Okay. I can't look past Mitchkov because there's too many ifs, right? And you're being way more generous than I would have. That I liked Bonk. I liked some of the other sort of draft picks that they did, in the later rounds. I'm scratching my head on the two goalies back to back. You know what I mean? Okay, whatever. I really feel that the ball was dropped on this year's draft with them even moving up to get a second round draft pick and them not capitalizing on taking a specific type of player that would be able to help this team in the future. That would come along with some of the same other guys that, you know what I mean, that would all come all at the same time, you know what I mean, be that next wave of players in the next year or two, you know what I'm saying? And because of this year's deep draft, I felt that they could have gotten even more, another type of starting NHL talent in the early second round like they did, but they drafted a goalie. And then in the third round, they drafted another goalie. You know what I mean? And it was like, all right. And then the whole Mitchkov thing, when we talked about this in the Prospect Watch show, we thought that he was one of the best talents coming out of the draft this year. He was on your list. He was on my list, but I had him only on my list as a mention. You actually had him as number 2 on your list, right? But I had him as a mention because of the whole 3-year contract with the deal in Russia. So why would you waste a number 1 draft pick on a kid that you might get to see in 3 years?
no,
When
it's a
But when you have such this huge pool of talented players that were snatched up by your competitors around you, I just don't get it.
well, I agree. It may hurt them in the long run with Ryan Leonard and others going to the Capitals, and a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference got a lot better as far as I'm concerned, as far as their draft grades, and some of the players they were able to pick up. But I think that Danny Briere and the Flyers, he said that he wanted to go out and take some chances and get some guys that potentially could be home run picks, because I
No
mean,
doubt.
let's face it though. Let's face it, Steel. Have the Flyers been able to draft that Eric Lindros type guy, or that
Not
Jeff
since Eric
Carter type
Lindros.
guy? Well, they didn't even draft him. The Nordiques did, and we traded for him. But um, you know,
Yeah, right.
but that's the thing. Like a home run pick that is going to be
Yeah.
amazing. We drafted a lot of two-way guys, the guys that are, Sean Couturier is a great player, but is he an elite superstar? No. Is Drew even in that my mind? I think he's a great talent, but is he an elite superstar like the ones that have Patrick Kane with 3 different cups, and Sidney Crosby with 3 different cups, and
See, I think,
Stamkos with multiple cups? And
all
no,
right.
we haven't.
My grade for Danny Briere in the New Orange is a C minus. And the reason why I say it's so low is because of the whole first round, 7th overall pick. You picked a guy. I agree. He could be. He might be. He has the skill set. But then again, what's he going to look like in 3 years? Is he going to be that, Kirill Kiprasov who plays his 2 or 3 years in the KHL, comes to the NHL and lights it up? Is he going to be that? right? And then even then, is he going to be able to still come over after 2 years, or is he going to have to do the whole 3 years? Right? You're not going to be able to talk to him. He's not going to be able to come to any of your camps. You're not going to have any kind of contact with him, really, right? That's why I'm scratching my. All right, I'm done beating this horse. Okay. Some other of the draft picks I thought were good. Bonk I thought was a good pick. I really liked the Provorov trade. I thought that was great. I felt that the Kevin Hayes was, man, you were never going to get anything for him anyway. I mean, you just weren't.
He's very inconsistent. He's well overpaid and all that. But I think the biggest
sixth-round pick, you never really were going to get anything for him, seriously. So the 6th-round pick, all right, okay. I'm okay with the buyout of DeAngelo, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But
right.
The deals that didn't get done, those are the ones that are going to have to be concentrated on either by the trade deadline or next off season or whatever the case is.
Overall, I think that what Danny did best was come in and create future cap flexibility, in the sense that Provorov is gone. We're paying a little bit of his salary, a portion of it, but 30%. We gained some salary cap back, right?
But I'm really excited about Helge Grande and what we got back from him too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But then we gained, some cap flexibility with getting rid of Hayes, with potentially buying out DeAngelo. That was needed just to sign back some of our own restricted free agents. So he had to do something to not potentially lose others, that are already here, that are young, up and coming players. So, I think he moved mountains in my mind in that sense, agree. As far as the cap goes. And I think, with him still trying to trade Sanheim at this time, if he can pull that off, oh my gosh, his grade is going to go up to an A in my mind, because that is an absolute
even with contract. The Michkov selection, I would say if he can do that, I would definitely give him an A. And I'm also going to say this too. If Michkov comes to the Flyers in the next 2 years and he is that Grill Kiprusoff and comes in and lights it up and wins Rookie of the Year or whatever, because by that time I think you're going to be a year removed from Bedard and Fantilli, right? I think those guys are both going to see time on the ice this year for their respective teams. Okay, and maybe even some of the other guys like in 3rd or 4th round, or 3rd and 4th overall picks too. I think maybe Will Smith might see the ice too, for San Jose. You know what I mean?
Leo Carlson.
And I think Leo Carlson for the Sharks. I think or for Anaheim. I think he yeah. So, but sorry about that. But yeah, I think some of those guys are going to see the ice this year. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the only thing.
And you got to think that Danny Briere had a lot of things going against him as far as Carter Hart goes as well. We talked about that with this delayed Team Canada debacle and all this stuff. He potentially had a deal in place for Carter Hart. That kind of stalled when the fact that nobody knows if his name is going to be implicated in this as well. So, and potentially have suspensions behind it and everything else. Who knows? So I think he did a lot this offseason. And one of the other things that I like that he did was he brought in a lot of new blood to focus on player development. Right.
Well, he definitely brought in some new to the current.
Yeah. It's still bleeding orange for sure.
Gosh, Johnny Leclerc comes in. Patrick Kane comes in. Keith Jones is here. Danny Briere is here. Who else?
Well,
right.
Riely Armstrong, who was named the director of player development. I like Briere's focus on player development. It has been a huge problem with the Flyers. They've drafted some good players over the years that simply fizzled out because or didn't reach their full potential because there wasn't a focus on player development here. The Flyers, being the Flyers of old, brought in these same guys that didn't have any coaching experience, that didn't really know what the heck they were talking about, and were given jobs. And now they recently hired Riely Armstrong, who played a lot of different places. He played in the NHL, he played in the AHL, he played in the KHL, Sigma, Dell over in Germany before finishing here in Reading in the ECHL. Okay, he's a career guy that bounced everywhere, but he has some um, potential in his coaching staff being added into it, and the director of player development, because he was the assistant coach with the Phantoms for over the past 2 seasons. He was the ECHL's assistant general manager, I believe, to Danny Briere with the Maine Mariners prior to that. So
Ding, ding, ding.
as well as their head coach and all that good stuff. So this is a connection that Danny feels comfortable with. It's one of his guys, and it's a guy who can hopefully come in and add to that player development core here, and really put forth a good effort. Let's say that at least.
I'm with you. So the only reason why my grade is so low is because of the amount of time for the Mitchkov. If he comes over here and lights it up, I'll be the first one to tell you that I was wrong, and I'll eat crow. Okay, that's just kind of how I look at it. But I want to talk about because we talked about what we felt that how the Flyers have done so far. Okay, so one of the things that I want to talk about, and which is what this episode is based off of, is that the Flyers are in a unique position, because I don't think they're going to be necessarily playoff contenders this coming season.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And I think you capture that idea very well in your latest article that was posted out to the SteelFlyers.com website. And you talk about a particular player that was, how shall I say this, a line mate of the Flyers' 22nd overall pick in this year's draft, right? Mm-hmm. And so I want you to talk to me about what was, because I know that we've seen things that have already happened, but we have to, because of the unique position that the Flyers are in, with not necessarily being contenders and trading away a lot of their major pieces that were, part of a lot of the offense, which there was very little of anyway. You know what I mean? And you're going to start to see now more of the youth movement and more positions available for that youth movement now that some of those other players have been moved out, right? Okay, so I want you to talk to me about what was the reasoning behind why you wrote this article. And I want you to tell me why you specifically zeroed in on this particular player. Was it because of the relationship with Bonk, or was it, so talk to me about Sam Dickinson.
Yeah, all the things, really, all the things. Now, like you said, the draft is over, free agency is over, teams are in camps and everything like that. Well, what is the next step? If you're a rebuilding team like the Flyers, it's a new beginning, focus on next year's draft to continue to build and rebuild this franchise to what it once was. And in saying that, I looked at a lot of factors. Do I think that this team is going to be a playoff team? We just went over that. No, I don't think so. Even if Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson can come back and play a complete season, which is questionable in my mind at this point.
Or even, let's say, 65 games?
Right. So in saying that, I don't think so, because you lost a lot with the players I mentioned earlier and all that. So I think the team is destined to pick somewhere or if not even higher than they did this summer. So, in saying that, you have to look at these players and take a look at what the team did this draft, this administration did this draft, and what they could potentially be looking for in the next draft. Now, we know that Cam Atkinson's probably going to get a lot more minutes, being that Ivan Provorov is gone. Um, yeah, it's a wonder, but with that, a left-hand shot defenseman might be on the horizon. Um, we drafted Bonk, a right-hand shot there with a first-round pick, and we've put a focus this past couple of drafts on some offensive players. So we got two goaltenders now that they're going to add into the mix. So that's kind of stocked up at least. It's not the players that I would have picked, but it's at least stocked back to see what they can do for the next couple of years. So when looking at that, you look at potentially London come calling again, right? Dale Hunter, we know, is a friend of Keith Jones, the president of the Flyers hockey operations.
Oh, and
They
that's where
played
Keith
together.
Jones played.
Right. They played together for 5 seasons in Washington there, and Dale has a lot of respect. He's done great things with his brother and his sons and all that stuff up in London. It's
Oh
a
yeah.
family affair up there running that
And
team.
it's a great organization. It's produced a lot of great players and everything. You know what I mean? That's no slouch up there, right?
No, it's not. And Dale's won over 900 regular season games in the junior ranks. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to develop talent. And one of these players that he's still developing is, Sam Dickinson. He's a big left-hand shot defenseman. He's 6'3", 194 pounds already. Okay, guys. He's a bit more of a stay-at-home defenseman, which I think the Flyers need.
Excellent.
They need a guy to be able to stay back when
and he's smooth.
When the Cam Yorks of the world go up and
yeah.
Try to score these points, and that's just what he did for Bonk with the Knights last year. He allowed him to jump up in the offense a little bit, and while he stayed back and made sure things were taken care of back at home. Now, you look at him and he's got great size, he's got great strength, he does a lot of things well. He moves guys out in front of the net. He's going to stay there and use that strength to win board battles and all that stuff. He does all that things well. But the one thing that I want to see him do more is become a bit more physical. I want him to stand people up at the blue line. I think he can do that with his size. If he can add that in, he will definitely be a top 5 pick in this upcoming draft. This past season, Dickinson scored 9 goals, 14 assists for 23 points in 62 games played. All right. I think he has a lot more offensive talent. I'm not 100% sure on his plus minus right now. It wasn't immense, but he wasn't a negative player either.
As long as he's a plus player, you know what I mean?
He's a plus player, yep. But I think it'll increase even more this year. What I like is he's got scoring potential too.
Yeah.
He has a monster of a shot from the point, and I think the kid can really bring it. And with that London connection, you saw that the Flyers also drafted another player offensively later in the draft, a center from London. I've really liked him as well. I think he's going to be a bit of a sleeper, but you have the potential to draft Bonk's defensive pairing partner and reunite them, who simply dominated last season for London, and continue to grow together. That would be something special to see, I think, in my mind. And it would only add to that defensive core depth there. I like it. I don't know. I think others that have been in the Flyers system on the left side have kind of fizzled out, or or not reached their true potential. So I think we need somebody now on that left side. We were loaded, but we'll see.
Well, that's the other thing you talk about too is the whole player development. If we're going to get these guys in here that need to be coached up, and we're going to get these project guys and these project players, then you need to have the infrastructure in place to teach these guys, to bring these guys along, to get them to the next level. You know what I mean? And that's the things that I've really, really been impressed with as far as what Danny Briere has done with this team. He's from the first time he got here, basically, or when he was first appointed to the
Special assistant to the
special
GM
assistant to the fired GM, or whatever you want to call that, right? Man Friday or whatever. But at that point, the first thing he did was started bringing the player development guys to the junior league games, because they weren't even going. Like they weren't even there. Like, what are you guys doing? You know what I mean? Like, let's go to the AHL games. Let's see the Phantoms games. Let's watch where, what are you guys doing? So he's changing the culture. That's one of the things that I've really much appreciated as far as what Danny Briere's done so far. I'm really liking that. But I like the fact that what you're talking about with this Sam Dickinson. I like this connection here with London. I think if you're going to be that team that I think the Flyers are going to be this year, which is picking in the draft again, right? And I think that if Sam can do the things that you're talking, because look, as far as I'm concerned, he's smooth, right? He's got power, he's got great intelligence and great anticipation. Okay, he's already a couple of plays ahead. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's rare to be having something like that as somebody so young. And so that's why I think he would be a great addition to this edition. And I think it would be a great way to help Bonk along and get these two guys. I mean, I think that would be, we could draft those two, draft Dickinson next year. You know what I mean? I agree with you on that 100%. And I think that would be a great way to improve this team. And if Dickinson can do the things you said, if he can step up, be a little bit more physical, because I think if he's able to be a little bit more physical with all the rest of the tools that he has, I think that will make him a top tier first round draft pick next year.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's needed, because you look at guys like Zumala. Zumala, in my mind, has needed to step up this past season.
I think this is going to be it for him this year.
And he really didn't. And I mean, he's being surpassed now by Emil Andre. He's come into camp and he's really impressed.
Oh boy, can't wait to see that.
And I would think that, some other players are going to be coming for his spot there, because he's always been looked at as one of the next guys. And he's played in a couple of games. He's played in a couple of games every season. Never really showed him anything as of yet. And I like him. I really do. And I think
I do too.
He's just kind of stalled. He's kind of stalled.
I don't think he's really been given a chance, though. He really hasn't been put in the best of positions. Look, I get it. You're not going to be able to be, between two Hall of Famers, or have a guy that's been on the team, or you're not going to have that luxury at this point. Do you know what I'm saying? So he doesn't necessarily have that luxury to fall back on, multiple veterans that are out there, and also the fact the team's not winning. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So that compounds things, right? I'm not trying to give anybody excuses. I'm just trying to say that it's already hard enough to get it into the NHL and to be a starter, but you throw that stuff on top of the fact that defensemen also take longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True. But you look at the comparisons there. He's been, 3 years now with the Phantoms, and
time to bring it.
Last year, he had 29 points in 58 games. This year he had 19 and 44. I mean, he's a negative player. He's a minus player with the Phantoms, a -4 this year. You look at guys like Ronnie over here that made the AHL All-Star game and everything like that, and have not played 3 seasons in the AHL. You know, he's now surpassing him. He's on the right side, of course, but you know, it's he's dropping down that depth chart. So I think that should be one of the things that, you know, Danny Briere takes a look at next is trimming the fat on some of these prospects that have been within the Flyers system for multiple years and are not progressing. They're actually taking a dive and you know, degressing. Um, so I don't know. I think that's one of the things that needs to be looked at. And, you know,
So
on that left side, now that you have a big name player in, you know, Provorov gone, um, it's up to Cam York to really step up and fill those skates, which are some big skates to fill. Ivan played a lot of minutes, and what if he can't? What if he's just a
I'm not
top
going to
four player?
ask Cam York to do 27 minutes a game. I'm not going to ask him to do that. I'm going to say, hey, put the kid in the position of being the top D man on his natural side. Put somebody with him that is can support him and can be a compliment to him. So Cam York is more of the guy that's going to go out there and try to get up into the offensive side of the play. So put him alongside somebody that's more defensive minded. That's going to be more of the stay-at-home guy, more of the calming and slowing it down guy. I mean, this coaching 101, right?
I think he'll play with Mark Stahl, but a signing of Mark Stahl, a left-hand shot defender, kind of keeps him on the right side in my mind.
That
You
wouldn't
got
be bad, right? That would give
you
him a
got Walker,
great.
but
But I think if you put Cam York with Mark Stahl, and look, I know we're bringing in the wily veteran to come in and play top D minutes, right? You
I
know
think
what I mean with
Sanheim's going
Cam
to
York.
take it on the left side. If they don't let Cam York take top pairing minutes, then I think that on the left side, his natural side, and then I think Sanheim's going to be forced to take it. He's the one that's getting paid the most money, so um, I don't want to. I don't like the
That
idea
gives
of
me the
that
cold
either.
and pricklies.
That brings the stomach acid up a little bit.
Yeah,
But
right. That gives me the cold and pricklies, man. I'm sorry, but no. We're trying to get that guy out of here anyway. But no, I like the idea of Sam Dickinson. I really like that, and I'll tell you what, Lance. Once again, you hit it out of the park with the article, and I think we're going to see a little more of that, and especially now with John LeClair, we might see even more maybe USHL guys because he played in the United States. He's from Rhode Island. Do you know what I mean? So we might have some of that connection too. Because he said he was going to be another voice in the room, Johnny LeClair, we're talking about here, and he's now also part of the player development, part of that whole group of guys that Danny Briere brought in to be part of that. Johnny LeClair was part of that player development. You know what I
I
mean?
would think
And
I would think Keith Jones had a lot to do with that as well.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
you know,
oh yeah, oh yeah, because that's where Keith Jones played. Do you know what I mean? And that's his buddies running the show down there. So I mean, come on, it makes complete sense too that that would leave the door open for Sam Dickinson if he's available for the Flyers. I think that's another guy they would probably have on their board based off of what they did this past year. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. All right, so the Flyers have also done. The shoe has dropped here on this whole DeAngelo, whatever you want to call it, experiment, faux pas. It's been a slice, but don't let it hit you on the way out, kind of thing. I don't know. What do you want to call it, man? I mean, it's not like he was a hard player when he was here. I mean, he was semi-productive. You know what I'm saying? It's not like the guy was, basically a bag of pucks. We were trying to get a trade worked out with Carolina, right, to at least bring something back for. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? NHL said, no, I don't think so. So, what's your opinion here about this whole DeAngelo thing?
Well, he's cleared, so they could buy him out the last year of his contract for $5 million. Uh, they could potentially hide him in the AHL and have to pay a fraction of his
Fraction
salary,
of
or
that. Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of options, but I think it would be for a buyout. But I don't really like the terms of a buyout. Because potentially we're going to have to suffer through paying him at least something for multiple years rather than just one more year. Um,
So I think with the buyout, I think you can either you can spread the money out for the length of the original contract.
I think you have to pay him a fraction of it for at least, if it's 1 year left on his contract, you're going to have to pay 2 years. The buyout, if they buy him out, it will cost the Flyers 1.67 million against the cap for the next 2 seasons.
Yeah,
Um,
that's how that has to work. If
yep.
they buy
So
him out, yeah, because he only has 1 year left on his contract,
right.
right? Okay, so that's what's going to happen, right? So they're going to buy him out and that whatever 1.6
I
million, whatever.
Yeah, I hope so. But that's going to be for the next 2 seasons. But that's going to give, like I said before, the Flyers the capability to sign back the remaining restricted free agents like Morgan Frost and all that to a new deal. So
So I'm glad you brought that up, sir, because that's the next and thing that I want to talk about. Okay, because there's been the swirling dervish of rumors about what's going to happen here and all this other happiness. And I've been seeing, all kinds of queries about what, people think about this whole thing. So, Lance, I want to ask you this. Morgan Frost was given a 1 year deal for what, $825,000 last year.
mhm.
Is he coming back?
I don't know. I haven't talked to Jonesy and stuff. My wife had a baby. I didn't get to make it to a whole lot of games this year to talk to Jonesy and stuff up, and JJ and stuff, and pick their brain on what the heck, they think, because obviously Jonesy is now the president of hockey operations. And I don't know. I don't know what they really think about Morgan Frost. He's not my favorite player. I have not been um, hiding that by any means. He had a big opportunity for multiple years now with Kevin Hayes being injured year in and year out. And then, with Sean Couturier being injured last year and prior seasons to that, he didn't have a horrible season. He had 19 goals, 27 assists, uh, and 46 points this year, but he was still a minus 12. All right. I don't like that minus number. I'm an old goaltender. I know they say it's a team, blah, blah, blah. It's not. I don't think that. If, other players can be plus 47s on some teams and some players be minus 20, it's not just a team number. It's what you do while you're out on the ice. And I don't necessarily think Morgan Frost is as an option for a long-term contract. Am I willing to bring him back next season? Probably, um, given the fact that we don't really have a whole lot of depth at center. Um, but it would have to be for a bridge deal. I don't think one season of putting 19 goals up is derivative of earning him a 3, 4, $5 million contract for multiple years. I hope. I don't know what he's been asking for. and what they're building on. But another potential guy in my mind, would you say trade him in a deal for Alexis Lafreniere for the Rangers? I would kind of do
Trade
that
rights
deal,
for rights.
rights for rights, and uh, get a potential um, former number one
All
overall pick
right.
that is beaten down by the depth charts of the left
I
side
That's a
on.
great idea, Lance. That's a
Yeah,
great idea.
guys, if you've read it, if you haven't, I wrote a whole article on the potential of the Flyers drafting, or not drafting, trading for Alexis Lafreniere because they have no depth at left wing. So with the injury of Elliot Dejournay, they have two natural left wingers signed. That's on NHL rosters and AHL,
Yeah,
ECHL, all that good stuff.
yeah.
Nobody promising on the left, a true left winger signed. So
That's so
uh,
scary, folks, by the way,
that's
just to let you
that's
all know.
that's scary to me. That's forcing a lot of players like Scott Lawton, who's a natural center, to have to play left wing. Uh, Cam Atkinson, who I believe is a right wing, having to play left wing if he comes back.
Yep.
The only two that are left are Joel Farabee and Nicholas Delorier. So, and Delorier's going to get you penalty minutes and fighting majors, but he's
I'll
not going
tell
to give
you
you a whole
what.
lot in a goal situation.
I'll tell you what. All things considered, man, I like him on the team because I'm going to tell you something, okay? And and as it turns out, I liked him a lot more on the team as the year went along, and I'm gonna probably like him on the team a lot more because he is one of those types of guys that he will be able to show some of these young kids how to be a professional hockey player.
Mhm.
Right? I think he's going to get in the room because he's going to show them how to be a pro and maybe show them how to have a little snarl in their game and maybe show them that you can rely on Nick because I'll take care of you guys, right? And I think that in and of itself gives the Flyers a bit of a different mindset when they hit the ice. Do you know what I'm saying? When you got somebody out there that's going to be able to take care of things, you play a little differently. You play a little looser. You know what I mean? You take a little bit more chances. So I think having him on the team has been a good move. That's one of the few moves that I actually did like. But keeping him on the team, I think is going to be a beneficial thing too as well.
Oh, I wholeheartedly, I like him. I like the style of play. I like how he uh, goes after guys who take cheap shots on some of his teammates. That's what the Flyers needed for a long time. That's what Ristolainen should be doing, as big as he is. But he's very physical. He can check, but he will not drop the gloves.
No.
So with I love that whole fourth line. That's potential to be there with Delorias, Ryan Poling, who they signed as a free agent. I
I
think that's a
know, right? See, I
valuable
like that. Yeah,
bottom
yeah.
six player, as well as Garnet Hathaway. He is a roughneck type player, grinder. If you guys remember, he was a bunch to handle for Sean Couturier. I don't know how those guys are going to be in the same locker room after what he did to Sean Couturier when they played against the Caps. Like, he was all over him like white on rice. So, I
Well,
think
better to
it's
have him
that
on the
fourth.
team than to be playing
Yeah,
against him.
for sure. So that fourth line for me is impressive. That is going to be the heart and soul and show some of these other guys how they should be playing the game. I think that comes from Keith Jones, bringing it back to the old Flyers ways of, very physical game, very hard team to play against. And we heard John Tortorella talking about that as well. That's what he wanted,
I
right?
mean, that's
He
part of
wanted,
his mantra too.
right,
That's
right.
part of what he
That's what
brings
he
to
wanted.
the.
That's what he wanted. He wants a tough team to play against. He knows this team doesn't have the star power to compete for the Stanley Cup. So what is he going to do that until the prospects develop? He's going to make his team hard to play against. He's going to be there that you see the Flyers on the map. It might not be a hard game in the sense of, hey, we're going to have to, put in 5 or 6 goals to beat this team. I don't think you're going to have to do that, but they're definitely going to leave you bumped and bruised and sitting in the ice bath after a game with that
I
fourth
hope
line.
so. I hope so.
And that's what I hope they get some of these younger guys to be a little bit more physical in that sense. And, it'd be a tougher team to play against. If you can't win, at least you got to beat them up,
That's right. I mean, that was the philosophy from the
If
great.
you can't beat them on the scoreboard, you got to beat them up.
That was the great philosophy of the writer extraordinaire, the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer, the editor in chief. That was his philosophy for last year. If you can't beat them up. And I'm here to tell you, I like the fact that the Flyers are going to be a tougher team to play. I like that fact that the grittiness is coming back. I like that. I like what Keith Jones said, that they need to bring the excitement back to the arena, right? And I think you can do that by bringing in a team that is a little bit gritty, isn't afraid to be physical. Because look, let's look at the last 5 or 6 Stanley Cup winning teams. Tampa Bay, very physical team, right? Vegas Golden Knights, very physical team. Colorado Avalanche, very physical team, right? Even when St. Louis won it, very physical team. They took it to you. They finished their checks. It was a physical, hard fought game, right? Nothing was easy. You had to earn everything, right? And as long as the Flyers play like that, and as long as they put forth the effort, I don't mind the losing, and I don't mind if you come out and say, yeah, this is a rebuild, because at least now you've ripped that Band-Aid off now. And now we said, all right, we've admitted it. So now we can move on, and we can, all right, we admitted we got a problem. Now let's fix it. I think that's what he's doing. I'm scratching my head on some of the moves, though, but so far, so far, all right. I wouldn't say it's been a grade. I mean, C- is not exactly failing, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Like I said, I think it has a potential to really boast itself
Yeah.
if all his home run swings come through. And
Dude, even if one comes through, okay? If one of those home run swings comes through, and that would be Michkov. If that happens, dude, then the sky's the limit, right? But we need to have one of those home runs hit, and I agree with you 110% on that.
Yeah,
So.
I think even if he makes one more trade and gets rid of one more player, potentially a Sanheim or something like that, that is going to be the home run swing there too, because he has drastically changed the outlook of this team, the roster already. In just a very short amount of time, he's gotten rid of a lot of bad contracts. He's garnered himself the cap room, the flexibility that he's going to need.
And he's not wasting it
to sign that, and he's not going out and wasting it. I'm okay signing guys like Hathaway and stuff like that for a year or two, and having that flexibility when they need to have it, when they get rid of some of these other contracts off the books, or these percentages of the Provorov deals, of the Hayes deals and all that, and the potential buyout of DeAngelo off the books, where he's really going to have the cap room, and some of these great young talents are going to really be like, Cutter Gauthier potentially, Michkov potentially, Forrester potentially, are kicking at the same time. He's going to have that cap space to bring in some veteran players to really go along with the true talents that are in the Flyers system. So he's setting himself up right now, I think, and it's looking good. Don't be discouraged by the 6th round picks or the lack of a prospect garnered back for the DeAngelo. He's doing what he has to do. If he didn't do that to DeAngelo by that time, he really wouldn't have had the wiggle room to sign back Morgan Frost. So his hands are tied with what Fletcher left him. Let's say that.
Yeah, let's say, yeah, I'll agree with you 110% on that. And I also like the fact that he did to what we needed, re-signed Cam Atkins, or Cam York, re-signed Ronnie Attard. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And was able to bring those players back, okay, and take care of some of our own RFA/UFA players as well. Okay, so I'm I like the direction that this team is going. I very much like what has happened so far. Like I said, a few things I'm scratching my head on, but all in all, it's boding well to, hey, this is what a GM feels like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's getting deals done. I think a lot of people were taken back by him for sure with the Provorov deal, and they stepped back and they were a little hesitant to deal with him after he was able to, pull off such a trade for a rookie GM. So I think people are, if anything, they respect him now, and if he
He,
comes
he's
calling,
he,
they're going to listen.
he's earned a spot at the table now, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think he's cut his teeth now. I think, and he's popped the cork here on some of that stuff. So I'm with you on that. Well, I'll tell you what, Lance. I think we've had a good breakdown of where we feel this team is going and what we think is potentially going to be happening. You know what I'm saying? And it's it's just amazing to watch how this has evolved. Right, since the Chuck Fletcher firing, it's been amazing to watch how this team has evolved. From going from, I mean, Lance, you and I were basically at the end of our ropes, angry with this team and beyond frustrated with this team. And now, does it seem to you like there's a glimmer of hope?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. A
Yeah.
lot of moves have been made, um, and it's hope, it's progress. We're treading water in the right direction.
Yeah, that's
That
a good way to put it.
that
Treading
island,
water in the right direction.
that island is still ways off, but I don't think we have the sharks of the NHL nipping at our heels anymore. In the water. Not the San Jose Sharks; they're horrible. Everybody else, we're trending in the right direction too. So let's stay positive here.
Yeah, man.
Hopefully, Danny can to get her done. I like all the moves, even off the ice, like we said, with the focus on player development, and you know, it's pretty rare that you see uh, different people out there. The consensus um, uh, president of hockey operations out there shaking hands, kissing babies, and all that at Flyers events and everything like that. It's good to see. It's something that you really didn't see a whole lot of with the Chuck Fletchers and the other people like that, and the Dan Haffertys have been right down there too, and talking to the fans and everything like that. I think that's going to give them hope too. So,
Because
um,
that's how Snyder did it.
yep,
Snyder was hands on.
yep,
You know what I mean? And let's face it, Dave Scott and the whole Comcast regime were definitely not hands on. Like
right,
it was a bunch of guys that pretended like they knew what hockey was, but really had no clue.
right.
I'm not saying that Dave Scott doesn't know what hockey is or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it just seemed like that. You know what I mean? But so Lance, anything in the pipelines?
Uh, Speaking of pipelines, I think I'm gonna put out a prospect article. I've been doing a lot of research on this upcoming draft, and
You hear that?
been
He's
working the
doing research
phones
on the
and
upcoming
everything else.
draft already.
Yeah, never stop. Just soon as that draft was over, the last guy was drafted. We're already started on the
Already
next
looking.
draft.
Already looking.
This is a rebuild year for the Flyers, and
Yeah.
it's always a passion for me anyway, just to find the next best thing coming. So
Exactly.
Look for one of
And
those coming out soon.
awesome sauce, man, because this latest article here about Sam uh, Dickinson was another great example here of your great writing. So, Lance, thank you for all the wonderful things that you do for SteelFlyers.com and the SteelFlyers All Sports Network. I can't thank you enough. All the things that you do, all the writing that you do, and I couldn't do this without you, man. I really couldn't. I mean, this whole thing revolves around you folks out there coming to see us, and all the views that you guys do, all the clicks that you guys do. Which, by the way, I got some information on that for you too. But Lance, I'll tell you what, man, I couldn't do this without you, bro. And the fact that we've done 132 of these shows, the fact that we're still here week after week, the fact that we're in the top 10 of all Flyers podcasts on quite a number of different polls out there. It's all because of you folks out there. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching. And Lance, why don't you tell the folks where we can find all your great articles and where we can catch you?
Well, I think you just did a little bit of it there. You can always catch my stuff exclusively on SteelFlyers.com, and you can also catch it, links to it at least, on any Flyers fan page that's on Facebook, or on my Twitter at Lance .green39.
For sure, for sure. And thank you very much for all that great stuff. And you can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. You can also find all the great stuff that SteelFlyers All Sports Network does at SteelFlyers.com, including all of Lance's Flyers articles, all of his prospect articles, where you can also see shows like Prospect Watch, the Nittany Report, Steel Flyers show, as well as the Hockey Writers Ink show as well too. So really appreciate all you guys checking us out, and I'm excited about what the future holds for the Flyers. I know you are, Lance, and I know that the fans are getting a little juiced as well too because of some of the moves that have been made. So we're looking forward to this upcoming season as well too. Thank you very much for checking us out. We're the Hockey Writers Ink. Philadelphia Flyers podcast, and we'll check you on the next episode.